Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Jathinder. Thanks, mate. Love it. Morning, Rodney, James, Brendan, Alison, Jathinder, Chris, Jimmy, Jeff. Morning, team. Hopefully you're all awesome and well wherever you are. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat. Good to see all you guys on this morning, bright and early, getting your coffee fix. Hopefully you've got a nice coffee. Do the quick intros while things are getting warmed up in the stream world. Give us a shout out if you're new, but Jason Witten's my name if you haven't met me or you didn't know. Sometimes people pick this up after a bit later, watch it on the replay, things like that. So if that's you and if you're new, say good day, give us a shout out. Be great to see you, see where you're from. Hey, Roz, how are you? Carolyn, good morning. A bunch on already this morning, which is awesome. So great to see you guys. Thought this morning we might talk about, hey, morning, Laura. Thought we might talk about, I got a few questions about, interest rates. I did a little bit of a thing yesterday about, to fix or not to fix, interest only, principal interest. We might dive into that today. But let me know in the chat if you've got any questions around this sort of interest rate world. Thought I'd do a little bit of a sequence or a series of it this week, and maybe answer a few questions and have a bit of a conversation in and around what's going on. But for some people, we're thinking about, all right, what's happening out there in the world of finance, the world of investing, and what's the cost? What's the cost to us when it comes to owning our real estate? And I thought I might dive into that one today. So I've got a little bit of something lined up here, and hopefully, let me know in the chat. Let me know, folks, if you can see that. Okay, I've got my little calculator out today, dusted off the old the spreadsheet, and we might see how we go here. Hopefully you can see it. Sometimes people are watching on a phone, a bit hard to see. But look, listen, let's say right now we're in the marketplace and, we've got a property, $650,000, and you can see my little squares up there, I think. And, as we go along, 650 grand, I put some equity into it. I've got stamp duty. I've got some expenses, maybe some lender's mortgage insurance, all of those sorts of things. And I've got some other expenses as well, some holding expenses, some rates, insurance, agents' fees, etc. This is a brand new property. That's what I'm putting into the calculator. And let's say it's renting for $550 a week, all right? So, our interest rate down here, depending on what you're doing, I've got this set on interest only. You guys know my conversation when it comes to your property portfolio in the beginning. For the first 5 years, if you can, lock that in as interest only. Then let it tick over to P&I later on if you want to, or you can try and reset it to interest only again. But interest only, 5 years, then 25 years of P&I. That's the best way to get your acquisition cash flow going. And we'll talk about that in a minute because the difference is pretty significant. I've got here person on 100 grand, just round it up. I've got in here CPI 3%, and I've got capital growth at 4%, compounding over 10 years. So, Grace, yes, you can get that in the Facebook groups, Grace. If you look in the attachment section or something like that, or the notes or the file section, these spreadsheets are there for you guys to use as well. So hopefully you can find that, Grace, have a little look around. So listen, I've got my house here. It's a 4-bedroom house, 200 square meters. It's pretty straighty 180. And I've got some depreciation. Now there's a couple of websites here that you can go off and get depreciation calculations done. So, and also the stamp duty over here. But, what does this look like? Interest only, 550. What does it look like from a cash flow point of view? What do you guys reckon? Just a quick snapshot here. You reckon this property would be positive cash flow, neutral, or negative cash flow? Put that in the chat for me. Just looking at this property here, brand new property, 650, renting for 550. It's got regular expenses, interest only at 3%. What do you guys reckon? Put that in the chat. Get you guys involved, but let's dive over into the report here and have a look. Neutral, Brendan saying neutral, and you're pretty close, Brendan. At 3% interest only, that property is just a tick over $2,000 per year positive cash flow, right? Before tax. And after tax, which is awesome because you guys know after tax, this is one of the great benefits of new property. You get your tax back, money that you'd be giving to the government. You get to get it back. You can get it back weekly, fortnightly, or monthly. You guys know this. And if you don't, you should. And if no one's ever told you, well, that's why you need a good coach like us. Get back $6,000 in a tax refund. That's pretty good. Instead of giving $25,000 to the government, you get $6,000 back, and that makes your property now positive cash flow after tax, $8,000. Woohoo! You beauty. I'm in. Give me a high five. How many of those can we own and buy? Well, we could own bloody plenty of them if the government would give us, not the government, if the banks would give us the money, if the lenders would give us the money, we'd continue on. Now, this is a buy and hold, very simple conversation. Most of my clients, most of you guys are buy and hold investors. I'm not talking about active investing, which is renovating or subdividing or, those sorts of things. That's an active investment. And the way I see those things, unless it's adding value to increase the rent, that's developing, which is a business. That's not property investing. But we're not talking about that today. So that's pretty good. Who'd be happy with $8,000 positive cash flow a year? Anyone? Put your hand up in the chat. Give me 5, right? All rosy, all happy days. Everyone's a winner, right? Let's go back and have a look at a couple of things that might chuck a spanner in the works, right? So we own this property. We're happy. Away we go. What might chuck a spanner in the works? Now, let's change this part here. You guys can see I'm highlighting the interest part. Okay. We're highlighting the interest part. I'm going to change that to principal and interest. Now, I haven't changed the interest rate, but at the moment you can get a lower interest rate on principal and interest. Let's call it 2.5%. Okay. Let's go and have a look at what that does to the cash flow of the property. Let's go have a look at what that does to the cash flow. Have a look at the pre-tax cash flow now, team. If you guys can see it, I'm going to highlight it right there. Check that out. All right. $10,000 negative cash flow. Now, is that the end of the world, ladies and gents? Is that the end of the world? Well, the answer is no, because that extra money has gone to reducing the principal. Okay. The extra payments have gone to reducing the principal. And, for the moment, in acquisition phase, you guys know this, the strategy is not to reduce the principal on your investment properties. Where's the number one property that we want to reduce the debt on? Who knows that? Put that in the chat. Do we pay off our investment properties, team, in the beginning? In the first 10 years, it's a big fat no. Okay? Your investment properties are there to produce income, to grow in value, give you extra tax benefits so you can reduce one debt. One debt, yeah, boom, PPR, team. You are on it, okay? So it's a stupid idea to put your investment properties on principal and interest. It's dumb. It's stupid. There's only one person / institution that benefits from that, and that is the banks. They benefit from that. You guys don't, right? So that's why we don't do principal and interest, okay? So let's just lock that down, okay? Principal and interest only. That is our number. That's what we do, all right? And if the banks are trying to roll you on it, then move. Leave the bloody banks because you will get stuck, okay? Leave that lender. Go to a better one, etc. But that's not what today's about. All right. We're back to a number that looks better pre-tax cash flow, after-tax cash flow, we're happy as Larry. All right, what's going to happen right now is the interest rates, for sure, are going to go up in price, okay? So right now, the marketplace is putting into already pricing in an interest rate rise over the next 3 years, slowly, team, not like immediately, but slowly over the next 3 years, probably 1 to 2% interest rate rise, okay? Now, what does that look like? We're going to change that to 4.5% interest only. Interest only. We're changing it to 4.5% interest only. So we're going to add 1.5% interest on our interest only calculation. Everyone following along? Good, good. All right, now let's have a look at what that does to our cash flow. All right, so, now that's got us in a place that's not necessarily so great. Now that's where most people at this moment in time are a little bit concerned, and rightly so. And rightly so. What's going to happen? How does that work? Et cetera, et cetera. But there's an interesting thing right here. Let's have a look at what happened there. Negative cash flow pre-tax. But look what happens after tax. Can you guys see this? 8,000 negative pre-tax. But what is the after-tax number here? Can you guys see that? All right. Tell me what just happened. I'm going to change this back to 3%. All right. We're going to come back here. Look at our after-tax cash flow. $8,000 here. Okay. $8,000 over here after-tax cash flow. Boom. You change this to 4.5. Our pre-tax cash flow is not so great. Check out our tax refund. After-tax cash flow, just a bit positive now. But the size of our tax refund, why did the size of our tax refund increase, team? Tell me that one in the chat. What do you guys think? What happened? And I'm sure it might take a little bit of time. The loss goes against your PAYG. You get more tax back. Boom. Chris. The interest rate rises, ladies and gents, are going to affect people with their principal place of residences more than they will affect us as investors from a cash flow point of view. And if you were claiming back your PAYG fortnightly, weekly, monthly, like you're meant to, this cash flow situation would not occur. It wouldn't show up in your cash flow because you're offsetting your tax weekly. And this scenario, you're not waiting to the end of the year. So, what is going on? How can we manage that potential future reduction in our cash flow, team? What's the future hold? Do you guys know what's on? Not only the interest rates are going to rise, but what else is absolutely hot on the tail, if not already off and running, that will help us manage our cash flow as property investors? What is out there in the marketplace? You guys have heard me talk about this for sure. Allison's on it already. And we're talking about rents, okay? Rents, team. Now, this is SQM research. Rents are on track to surge by as much as 15% nationwide. 15%. Okay? So that's pretty significant, team. If you have a look at that, SQM research, they're great. We love those guys. They've got some great research. Vacancy rates across the country right now, you guys have seen me do these ones before. They're the lowest they have ever been in history in those cities. And I can tell you right now, these two cities are on their way to sub 1% vacancy rates. On their way, sub 1% vacancy rates, right? Rental boom is underway. We have got people settling properties now that are getting rents $200 more than when they purchased them, okay? So let's have a look at this. Sydney is in the grip of historic drop in housing supply. 43% plummet in housing lots, et cetera, et cetera. And the other one that's going to stay in defence housing for sure, Alison. I would be totally, right? Australia will open its borders. It already has. How many people are coming? Team, there is approximately 600,000 people coming to Australia in the next 3 years. So when you look at these things, you're like, all right, well, gee, that's got some pretty positive effects going on. How much do we got to increase the rent to cover some of these expenses? All right, so let's go up here and increase the rent on this thing here. Let's just do this little mathematic calculation. A 15% increase, basic, on this property, that's $750 a week. Boom, up goes the rents. Thank you very much. Let's go and have a look at our cash flow. Abracadabra. Did you guys see that? Look at this, team. All right, up there as we go, right? Or did I jump at 200? I think I jumped at 200. Let's go 650. Did I have it 550, didn't I? All right, 650. Much better. 3,000 after tax, 4,000. There we go. Still pretty tidy. And if we need it to be back to where we wanted it, $200 is the number. Voila, there it is. Abracadabra, right? So if you're sitting there right now and you think about, all right, my property, the cost of my property, couple of things you can do, right? Number one, make sure it's up to speed and able to, be ready for a rent bump, all right? Don't miss the next 2 resets of your lease. Now, if you've got a 12-month lease and you do that 2 times in the next 2 years, you could be behind the 8 ball. These interest rates are going to go up slowly, team. It's not going to go from 2% to 4% tomorrow. We need to be bumping our rents up a bit, making sure our buffers are nice and strong, and making sure we don't miss out on those rent increases, as we go along. So I thought that would be a good one to just touch base on today. For many of us, we're going to get a lift with our property rents anyway. What can we do to maximize, increase those as we go along? There's many things. Make sure you've got your PAYG variation in place. You're getting your tax deductions weekly, fortnightly, monthly. That helps with your cash flow. Make sure your buffers and your offset accounts are in place. Make sure when you renew your leases, you get the rents up because you're going to miss out. Like just, right now, push your agent a little bit more. Just make sure that they're doing the right job, et cetera, et cetera. All right. But if you got any questions about this sort of thing, give us a shout out in the chat or on the Facebook group or in the YouTube channel or wherever you are, because this sort of thing is part of us, all as property investors, managing what it looks like to go forward, but not tapping out. There's going to be some amazing opportunities, team, in this next 3 years. The good time Charlies, the wannabes, the barbecue buyers, they're going to be freaked out. They're not going to be able to handle this stuff. And us as investors with a long-term vision are going to be able to have some fantastic opportunities. And we know how to manage this stuff, which is good. Well, hopefully that made sense. Where we go. Alison said, how do you jump from interest only to P&I ensure it's affordable? Yes, Alison. The idea is over that 5 years, get yourself in position to do so. If you get to the point where that's not happening, then see if you can, and it's quite easy to do, see if you can then reset your loan for another 5 years of interest only from that point onwards. There is nothing wrong with team adjusting, because the interest is the biggest expense that we have when it comes to our properties by a long shot, right? So if you have a look at our expenses, your interest, is probably 90% of the cost. And that is the one you want to manage, okay? Up here you've got rates and insurance and body corp if you've got an apartment or a townhouse and those sorts of things. But absolutely. Boy Scout, be a scout, Girl Scout, Boy Scout, whatever that is, be prepared. Because if you get a 5-year interest only and then you roll it over to another 5-year interest only, then most of the time that 5 to 10 year gap is where your rents will go up and be able to completely cover a P&I payment. And ultimately, team, at some point you want your debts to be reduced anyway, right? So ultimately, that is not a bad maneuver once your cash flow is in place, okay? Now, I do have a passive income tax calculator that I might dust off in the coming days, and just to show you guys how that stuff works as well, because I've got a pretty cool little calculator in that sort of space. Anyway, there you go. Grace, our first and only purchase was an investment property. We don't own a home, we rent. So Grace, no, and this is where it depends, Grace, and I'll just give you 30 seconds of kind of high-level conversation, but this is not specifically, I don't know your specific circumstance. Grace, if you are going to continue to build your portfolio, so you want to buy more properties, then the answer is no. Do not pay off that loan with P&I. Create a offset account and make extra payments if you want to. If you've got the cash flow to make extra payments, put it in the offset account, Grace, okay? Now, the offset account gives you access to that money immediately if you want to buy another property, if you need it as buffer, et cetera, okay? So it does depend, Grace, on where you're at. If that's the only property you're ever going to buy and that's it, then, boom, knock it over. If not, most people, I would say, don't do P&I, but if you do have the cash flow, put it in an offset account. Hopefully that answers a quick part of your question, Grace. And if you need more on that, chat with your coach. And if you don't have a coach, you should get one. Sam's got a good podcast. Yep, absolutely. Allison says, he does a lot of great stuff in his podcast. So touch base on that. Well, I think we've done a bit of a longer one today, folks. So hopefully that was useful. No problems, Grace. Cheers, Allison. Cheers, everyone. Good to see you guys. Stay safe wherever you are. And thankful Thursday. First of the month tomorrow. Myself and Andy Fenton. Well, we're going to have a little chat about the budget. So hopefully you guys can dial in. Join me for another Wealth Coffee Chat tomorrow. Just a quick one. And we'll do a little bit of an unpack on Wealth, Wine and Wisdom tomorrow afternoon as well. There you go. The double whammy tomorrow. Anyway, I'll stop talking because I've gone over time. Need to let you guys go. All right. See you, team. Great to hang out with you.